Just as the Earth was about to be destroyed, the surface of another planet could be seen approaching Earth, while T'Challa stood holding a device in his hand, gazing upward in silence alongside Black Swan, Namor, Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, Black Bolt, Iron Man, and Beast. Namor asked what T'Challa was waiting for, and T'Challa replied that he remembered who he used to be. Then T'Challa activated the device, and an explosion erupted in the sky. Soon after, the sky cleared. On the planet Titan. On a throne with many eggs beneath it, an outrider is kneeling before someone on the throne. This outrider was genetically engineered to carry out all of its creator's commands. At that moment, the outrider reported that the mission had been successful. Corvus Glaive asked where it was, and the outrider replied that it was in Alagulo. Corvus realized that the events in Alagulo had occurred 2 cycles ago. He then asked his master if he needed to perform the Gauntlet of the Tribute. His master's finger pointed, and Corvus decided he would depart immediately. Corvus then told the outrider to look at him. He said their master was pleased with the results of his work, even though his other tasks were not yet finished. He asked if the outrider still wanted to carry out his duties, and the outrider agreed. Corvus ordered him to find another planet for them to destroy. After that, a spacecraft was seen emerging from Titan and flying into space. A short while later, in Alagulo. Corvus stood before the king of Alagulo. He asked where Agalix the Brave was, the one who had defeated the great beast of Paul. In their memories, they saw Agalix with his red sword. Corvus asked again where the king's son was, the one who had ended the water wars and united his people, but the king replied that he did not know. Corvus said that if he knew where his son was, it was because the king had sent his son to face Corvus when he arrived in this planet's orbit. Corvus then showed the king and queen Agalix's weapon, named Al-Kito, aka the World Cleaver. The king and queen grieved, realizing they had lost their son. Corvus again showed them Agalix's hand, and at that moment, the king summoned Algera to attack Corvus, but Corvus stopped him. Corvus said they had already done this 2 cycles ago when his master had defeated the king, and the king had gone into hiding with the remnants of his people, but now the king had managed to build a city. He hoped the king wouldn't force him to resort to violence again. The king asked what he wanted, and Corvus replied that he wanted a tribute. Not long after, on Titan. Corvus told his master that the Alagulo had paid. He added that he needed precision in cutting them. His master asked if he was certain, and Corvus offered to show him. He opened the box, which turned out to contain the heads of the Alagulo creatures. Upon seeing this, his master, who turned out to be Thanos, finally smiled in satisfaction. Next, Outrider is seen approaching Earth to search for what is hidden there so that Earth can also pay tribute to Thanos. Outrider's ship shifts into stealth mode, making it invisible. Now Outrider is at a base, hiding in the darkness. Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man are visible. He moves to another room and becomes invisible. There, he finds Wolverine, Storm, and Kitty Pryde. Outrider then enters the S.H.I.E.L.D. office and lifts the head of a man who appears to be asleep. On the planet Galador, in the Golden Galaxy, 16,000 light-years away. The planet is under attack. The curator at the control console says their movements have been halted by the planet's inhabitants, so he relocates Aleph to another section. The caretaker says the planet is fighting back. The engineer replies that they always fight back. He tells the creator that this is how it's supposed to be. The creator asks where the resistance is coming from, and the caretaker answers that this planet has heroes. On the planet, 2 Alephs are seen walking and firing at the survivors. Then a voice is heard, and one Aleph identifies the person and prepares to attack, but the other Aleph senses approaching energy, and both Alephs suddenly explode. The Terminator is seen there with the pulsar behind him, while Starshine notes that the enemy ships have finally stopped. It seems the enemy has begun to notice them. Firefall felt this was to be expected since the Prime Directorate had granted them a cavalry-level power boost, so Galador should survive even if they're on fire. At that moment, Icon helped the frightened residents to their feet. She told them they needn't fear, because they would defend this planet. The 2 people who had been saved watched the 5 heroes depart, while Kiru remarked that they shone like stars, and Sano agreed. He believed the Space Knights would save them. Just then, someone appeared before them and said that this time they wouldn't be able to do it because everyone would die. Sano asked who she was, and the person replied that she was the universe. She wanted to know the beginning of the end of all this. Sano told the universe she was wrong because this wasn't the end. If the Space Knights lost, they would lose everything they believed in. Elsewhere, Firefall was seen stabbing Aleph until he exploded, while an Aleph appeared to be attacking Starshine, but Icon's spear pierced his stomach. Meanwhile, Pulsar and Terminator flew away, leaving the exploding enemy behind them. Meanwhile, the universe continues to insist that none of it will make a difference, prompting Sano to ask why she's so certain. The universe replies that it's because her children have arrived. They watch as a massive spacecraft lands and transforms into a weapon ready to fire. Seeing this weapon, the creator says he wants it as if none of this ever existed. Then a beam of light turns the Space Knights into dust, along with Sano, who is hugging Kiru, and the universe, who spreads her arms as the beam sweeps over her. In an instant, the stars visible in the sky vanish without a trace. At the peak, a person on the screen reported to Abigail Brand that the strike team had arrived, and that he was also preparing the containment team's shield on COM 1 whenever Brand needed it. Brand asked if he was sure this was a bug hunt, and the person replied that intelligence from the refugees had been confirmed. They'd been there too long to produce anything. Hearing that, Brand asked to be connected to COM 1 in Palermo. Sword Command contacts Captain Koenig and orders him to retreat. Captain Koenig asks why they have to retreat when they're already ready to attack, and Brand replies that she'll call in the experts. At that moment, Captain America entered the building with Hawkeye. He reminded Hawkeye about the civilians inside, and Cap asked about the situation. The captain replied there were 6 or 7 targets there and asked if it was just the 2 of them. Hawkeye said the 2 of them were enough, but they'd have backup when needed. Outside the building, Thor and Hyperion were on standby. The door to the house was kicked open, revealing 4 civilians eating. Cap ordered Koenig to press the device, and the 4 people revealed their true forms as Skrulls. Unaware that their disguise had been exposed, they tried to offer them bread, but Cap told them to choose how they wanted to resolve this. Meanwhile, one of Brand's subordinates reports that the Avengers have already fought them. Brand asks if their intel and scans confirm there are Skrulls there. Another subordinate confirms it, noting there have been 7 similar incidents. Then Brand ordered them to infiltrate Kree and Shi'ar communications. At that moment, Cap and Hawkeye were seen fighting the Skrulls there, while at headquarters, Brand wanted to know the truth. But then, before her, a star-filled black sky appeared and a bright flash was visible. A few minutes later, Brand asked Cap for an update on the situation, and Cap, who was facing the enemy, told Brand to wait. Cap then knocked a Skrull to the ground and reported that they had been neutralized. Hawkeye found it strange that there wasn't a single Skrull soldier among them, and he thought this didn't add up. Brand confirmed this and ordered them to head to headquarters immediately. At that moment, behind Abigail, Captain Universe was seen unconscious, and Brand's 2 subordinates were panicking. In Attilan, the floating home of the Inhumans above Manhattan, a guard named Tolos tells his friend Kieran that Black Bolt and his wife sleep in separate quarters. Hearing this, Kieran asks if Tolos knows why he always gets the worst guard shifts. Tolos replied that he didn't know, so Kieran told him to stop asking and start thinking about it. At that moment, unbeknownst to them, Outrider was in an invisible form and entered the building. He arrived at the part of the building where Karnak and Gorgon were talking. Karnak felt that this separation was not good. He asked if Medusa had said anything, and Gorgon replied that Medusa hadn't said anything. The Outrider then entered through the door of Black Bolt's room, passing by Lockjaw. He grabbed Black Bolt's head to extract the information he was hiding. He saw that Black Bolt was born from a Kree Terrigenesis experiment, went on to become king, and had 5 queens: Medusa, Ula Udanta, Aladi Koiki, Onomi Whitemane, and Avo. Black Bolt's younger brother Maximus was always making plans that caused the other members of the royal family to shun him. When the Outrider saw this, he felt this wasn't what he wanted, so he delved deeper into Black Bolt's mind. At the peak, Captain Universe lay unconscious. Cap asked how long she'd been unconscious, and Brand replied that she'd been like this since she appeared on the command deck. Cap turned to Ex Nihilo beside him, and Ex Nihilo explained that she was rebuilding her body and was certain his mother would recover. Cap mentioned that last week Captain Universe had gone to another part of the universe before disappearing, while Iron Man added that she'd said something about the apocalypse. Ex Nihilo replied that his mother knew things they didn't. Brand hoped Universe would wake up soon so she could provide context for the information they'd found on the Kree Omnicast from their deep space outpost, and Iron Man interjected that this kind of open channel communication was usually never done. Brand agreed and told them to look at the monitor. A man was seen saying they were too late to find out because the attackers were already there. The man was then choked by the enemy, and his friends were also seen under fire. Someone resembling Ex Nihilo warned anyone watching to stay away because there were other beings who wanted them to stay alive. Seeing that figure, Cap told Ex Nihilo that he looked familiar, and Ex Nihilo was shocked because it was the Builders' doing. He felt this couldn't possibly be happening. Another recording showed the Alephs flying away, and then everything turned white. Brand explained that judging by the movement of the Builders' ship, it was heading toward them. In Attilan. Outrider was still trying to gather information within Black Bolt's mind. He saw the Illuminati, each possessing an infinity gem. But upon seeing this, Outrider said this wasn't what he was looking for. Then he saw them lose their infinity gems and turn into skulls. He tried to look back again and saw the Hidden Kings and the Lost Queen. He believed this was what he was seeking. However, at that moment, he saw Black Bolt appear and order Outrider to leave his mind. Black Bolt then wakes up, and simply by grabbing Outrider's hand, it immediately snaps off. As Outrider runs out of the room, Gorgon tells Karnak there's an assassin, and Karnak immediately prepares to fight him, but Outrider passes right through him unharmed. Karnak ordered them to alert the guards. Meanwhile, in the room, Black Bolt stood up and put on his suit. He looked at Outrider's arm, which he had yanked off earlier. Outside the room, Gorgon unleashed a fire attack to strike Outrider, but he leaped out of the way, while Tolos, who was near Outrider, told Kieran to get ready. Kieran replied that he wasn't afraid. In the room, Black Bolt handed the arm to Lockjaw to sniff, while outside, Kieran and Tolos were clawed and injured by Outrider. Just then, the door opened and Black Bolt emerged with Lockjaw, a golden light enveloping them both. At that moment, Gorgon tried to chase after Outrider, who was about to jump from the balcony. Gorgon and Karnak were blinded by the light, allowing Outrider to jump, but Black Bolt used his sonic powers to shout, "Stop!" Outrider screamed in pain and fell, but he floated in the air. Karnak and Black Bolt saw that Outrider had actually landed on his invisible aircraft. He entered the craft and departed from Attilan. At the peak, Cap, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man gather the Avengers. Captain Marvel explains that after they received a distress signal from the destroyed Kree Moon, they overheard military communications from the Empire and regions led by regional warlords, all of which are part of the Galactic Council. Captain Marvel then asked Smasher, a member of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, about the situation on Shi'ar, and Smasher confirmed that Gladiator had summoned the Super Guard and reactivated the Imperial Sub-Guardians to replace any fallen members. They would only do so in the event of a major war. Cap realized this was real, and the enemy was so terrifying that even a great empire was preparing. Cap then asked Ex Nihilo and Abyss what their chances were if the Builder, their creator, reached Earth. Ex Nihilo was about to answer, but Abyss interjected that their chances of success were nil. Iron Man responded that he'd expected that answer, and Cap decided they had to join forces with the other worlds. Starbrand asks if he should join them since Starbrand is Earth's protective system, while Sunspot says this would be fun, just like Star Wars, only with lots of handsome protagonists, and tells Cannonball to tell him. Cannonball replies, "Space. So awesome." Iron Man felt the word space would scare people, but everyone here was their best chance to stop this, and he hoped to join them too. Cap replied that Iron Man's job was to prepare a backup plan and lead Earth's defense if they failed. He added that they'd depart in an hour. Before long, the Sword crew reported that the Quinn cruises were ready to depart, and Captain Marvel told Cap beside her that the ship was ready. Cap instructed Tony to prepare for the worst-case scenario, while Iron Man told Cap to handle this. He hoped they'd win. The ship then took off into space. On Titan, the Outrider who had fled Earth crashed hard into the ground. Those who found him said this was a bad omen because the Outrider had landed on the dead moon, while another companion noticed that the Outrider was missing a body part. They carried him to their master's location, saying they had to hurry because everyone was waiting. They tossed the Outrider aside, and the Outrider declared that he had succeeded. Corvus replied that the Outrider had already mentioned it in the signal he sent. The Black Order was already waiting here. There were Proxima Midnight, Black Dwarf, the Ebony Maw, and Supergiant. Corvus asked where it was, and the Outrider replied that it was in Attilan on Earth. The Inhuman King was hiding what Thanos was seeking. Corvus praised his work, asked if he wanted his reward, and the Outrider nodded. Corvus cut off his head as a reward. Corvus asks if this pleases his master, and Thanos replies that Earth is what will please him. Hearing this, their forces hesitate because attacking Earth won't succeed, but Corvus assures them that Earth is different this time. He says there's information about a conflict within the Inhuman home and a split at the mutant school. A man wearing a sword hat stands there with his eyes glowing black. Corvus added that there were no longer any Avengers on Earth, and upon hearing this, Thanos smiled. At the peak, Sword Command above Earth. Several people were seen falling lifelessly after being shot in the chest. The leader of the team attacking the site stated that they had all fallen due to Thanos' long march. He then reported to Corvus 1 that the Hunter-Killer team had succeeded and that there was no life left on this level. He had taken control of the conduit and was about to seal off the area. At that moment, his men pointed outside. Brand and her men were seen planting a bomb on the window pane. As soon as Brand and her men left, the bomb exploded and Corvus's men were thrown out. Agent Brand and her men entered the building. One of her men said, "We've got Agent Brand." Brand remarked that she didn't understand why they had locked themselves inside the power relay substation. She asked Sidran to find out what they were doing here and what they were accessing, starting with priority intelligence items. Sidran checked it out and found that they weren't trying to access encrypted data on the mainframe or break into the red level partition. They were only using the system used in the substation. Brand told him to dig deeper and ask what systems they were using and if there were any quarantined systems as well. Sidran replied that it wasn't an internal system. Brand asked again what system it was, and Sidran said it was low orbit tracking, station alignment, and an automated targeting system. Hearing that, Brand exclaimed, "Oh no!" as it became clear that outside the peak, many attack aircraft were moving toward the peak. Meanwhile, the Gauntlet and the Great Hunt have successfully taken over Earth. Corvus Glaive and Supergiant defeated the mutants at the Jean Grey School, and Proxima successfully subdued Atlantis, which had been weakened by the previous war. Namor and Andromeda were seen kneeling before Proxima. Meanwhile, Ebony Maw was influencing Doctor Strange at the Sanctum Sanctorum to make him desire what Thanos desired. In Wakanda, Black Dwarf and his forces were still trying to bring down the nation led by T'Challa. At Avengers Tower, Iron Man and Reed Richards were overseeing Earth's defenses, and in Attilan, Black Bolt and Maximus were awaiting the arrival of Thanos' representatives. A massive station approaches Attilan, and a spacecraft emerges from it, landing on Attilan. Several Outriders disembark alongside green-skinned soldiers and Corvus Glaive. They stand before Black Bolt and the Inhuman soldiers. Medusa orders Corvus to speak, and Corvus sneers that he doesn't see their king, claiming he's merely a king of a small kingdom. Maximus replied that building something that can endure while everything else crumbles means Attilan is not small, whereas, according to Medusa, her husband is the king. So, what position does Corvus hold? Corvus interrupted and said he is a servant of Thanos, who has destroyed worlds and subjugated kings. Corvus said he was one of the 5 commanders named the Cull of Obsidian by Thanos, but he preferred the Black Order because Thanos' name was too terrifying. Medusa asked what Corvus's purpose was in coming here. Corvus says they've already carried out the Gauntlet on Earth, a purge of the weak by fire. He states that Thanos knows Black Bolt's secret and has a request, but Medusa warns that the last person who made a request of them lost their life. Corvus asks if, when Medusa wants to discipline her child, she gives them candy? Medusa is confused by his meaning. Corvus insisted that they couldn't threaten someone with what they wanted. He then ordered his men to show this queen whether they feared death. The 4 green-skinned soldiers stepped forward and drew their knives. They stabbed themselves and died on the spot. This incident shocked Medusa, Maximus, and Black Bolt. Even Black Bolt's hand on his throne trembled at the sight. Corvus stated that he was one of 5, so if they killed him here, his successor would come with the same demand because his master always gets what he wants. Medusa asked what it was he wanted, and Corvus replied that he only wanted a tribute. Medusa told him to say it directly, and Corvus explained that the tribute consisted of handing over Inhumans aged 16 to 22. Medusa asked what exactly they had to hand over, and Corvus replied that they only had to hand over their heads. Corvus turned and walked away, while Medusa was furious that Thanos wanted them to sacrifice their children to satisfy him. Maximus remarked that this was like Herod and Christ in the human scriptures, but Corvus denied it, saying that only Thanos of Titan in the present day was doing such a thing. Corvus walked out, adding that they had one day to decide whether their people would die in large numbers or in small numbers. At that moment, Black Bolt watched Corvus leave the area. Meanwhile, in deep space, the Galactic Council and the Builder Fleet met in the corridor. The Galactic Council intended to stop the Builder Fleet's advance, but to their surprise, the Builder Fleet was larger than it appeared, as most of them were in an invisible state. In this battle, the Council was defeated. A third of the Council's ships vanished. Alongside the Council were the Avengers, who were also trying to save their lives from the Builders' attack. In orbit, above Agri-World, Wan Prime. Avengers ships were seen landing on the wing of a space station. Captain America was there alongside Spider-Woman, Thor, and the Hulk. Cap said he barely managed to land at their rendezvous point due to the ship's damage. He added to Smasher in front of him that the Quinn carrier was no longer airworthy. Smasher welcomed them on behalf of Gladiator to the Shar flagship named Lilandra. Cap asks if she's heard any news from the others, and Smasher replies that she hasn't heard anything, but she thinks they've moved on with the Spartax or the Brood. Smasher says that if Captain Marvel's carrier doesn't arrive here, they won't know until the second maintenance point. Smasher adds that after their warships retreated, all communications, like the Shi'ar network, the Kree-Omnicast, and all wideband communications, were cut off. Cap concluded that since they couldn't get any information now, he asked Izzy if there was any other intel. Smasher led them to meet Gladiator, while remarking that it seemed like she'd fallen in love, and Cap commented, "That's some timing, kiddo." Meanwhile, Gladiator was speaking with Oracle and Mentor. Oracle urged Gladiator to mobilize the Council's forces as soon as possible. Gladiator sought Mentor's opinion, who replied that they had chosen this location as a meeting point because this farming colony wasn't a strategic location and posed no threat. But before he could finish speaking, Magister's men reported that there were enemy ships in their inner system. 4 builder ships were chasing a damaged frigate that seemed on the verge of being destroyed. Hearing this, Oracle suggested they should gather the power of all their ships so they could jump. And Mentor replied that since their 7 ships couldn't jump, they could feign an attack to draw the enemy's attention and then carry out a rescue mission. But Majestor refused. He felt the enemy actually wanted them to flee so the builders could chase them. This time, Majestor was no longer willing to run. He stood up and told his crew that they would face the enemy. He would either emerge victorious or die trying. Hearing this, his crew looked energized. Majestor asked if any soldiers wanted to fight alongside him, while Smasher looked at Hulk and said that now was the time for Hulk to get angry. Majestor, Smasher, Starbolt, Manta, Oracle, and the Avengers then flew to attack the 4 builder ships ready to fire on them. Inside Lilandra, Ex Nihilo watched the battle while asking if Gladiator wouldn't let him join the fight. But Mentor replied that he was certain Ex Nihilo would respect Majestor's decision. The person beside Mentor says that the builders are the ones who created Ex Nihilo. And Ex Nihilo says that he was also created by the builders, because this time it is the gods who are fighting. Majestor watches as Starbolt burns a builder ship. Cap is also seen punching Aleph while Falcon flies nearby. Meanwhile, Thor and Hyperion burn another builder ship. Smasher struck Aleph at that moment, and not far from there, Oracle faced another Aleph. Hulk was also leaping out of the burning and exploding ship, until finally, Majester raised the enemy's head as a sign of victory, and his troops cheered. At that moment, the person beside the Mentor said that long ago, the Builder and the Gardener had gone out into the world to grant humans special powers, but now humans no longer needed gods because they had Shera and Kithri. The person smiled and added that they had already won. Ex Nihilo then pointed at something, saying that what they were facing was not just Aleph, but also Ex Nihili, life itself. The operator in front of the screen saw two figures entering a planet. An Ex Nihili was seen landing alongside Aleph. He exclaimed, "Look at this, a planet of sustenance, a garden." The Ex Nihili then asked Aleph beside him if he believed in life after death, and Aleph replied that his code would be passed on to the next Aleph, and that this code was eternal. The Ex Nihili, who turned out to be named Jaren Ko, said that when he dies he will not return, and his master will continue to mock his existence and his efforts. Then Aleph replied that victory is above all else. He ordered Jaren Ko to carry out his creator's command, and even if they lose, they will only be wounded. Jaren Ko told Aleph to record it in the code, if he remembered when the symbol on his chest signified life. That was the best moment. But now, all of that was gone. Black energy then emanated from Jaren Ko's body, rising into the sky. Ex Nihilo, witnessing this, was stunned and ordered Mentor to recall everyone because something terrible was happening. Next, Thor and Hyperion descended to the planet where Jaren had committed suicide, because his death caused the planet to rot. Before the black energy spread, a spacecraft carried the planet's inhabitants away. However, some residents could not board the spacecraft, so they entrusted their children to Thor and Hyperion. The fleet of ships carrying the residents gathered above the planet and watched as it was engulfed by black energy, causing those left behind to fall ill and die. Majester and the Avengers witnessed all of this from Lilandra. They believed this was the result of their victory. In Attilan, on Earth, the Corvus station was still flying near Attilan, while Black Bolt was seen walking down a corridor in his kingdom, keeping an eye out for anyone following him. He then opened the door to a room containing a sphere, which he stepped into. Inside the sphere, it was as if he were on a hill. Black Bolt activated the red stone in his hand, and the Illuminati appeared there. T'Challa asked why Bolt had summoned them when the world was facing a crisis, but Doctor Strange told T'Challa to be patient, as there must be a good reason for summoning the Illuminati. Reed asked where they were since everyone's voices sounded different. At that moment, Black Bolt said they were near Attilan. Reed wondered how Black Bolt could speak without anything happening, and Black Bolt explained that Maximus had discovered a pocket reality where sounds became a single pitch. He then revealed the reason for gathering them. Thanos had sent an envoy to deliver a message to Attilan. At that moment, unbeknownst to them, Maximus was hiding behind a rock, eavesdropping on the conversation. Reed asked what the message was for Attilan, and Iron Man interjected, asking what the message was for Black Bolt. Black Bolt replied that the message was for him. Thanos was demanding a tribute of inhuman heads aged 16 to 22. Black Bolt said that after this, he would give his answer to that demand, so he handed something over to the Illuminati. Reed, who received the object, asked what it was, and Bolt replied that it was the hidden archives of the Inhuman King and Queen. He said they would find what Thanos was looking for there. T'Challa asked about the tribute, and Bolt replied that the tribute was just a ruse because what he wanted wasn't the death of someone in a specific age group, but rather a single person. T'Challa asked who that person was, and Bolt answered that it was Thanos' son. War victims from the Armada Council and refugees from a dead planet gathered on Behemoth, a ring of a rogue planet located in the Dead Space Galaxy. Shang-Chi and Spider-Woman were seen distributing food to the wounded, but suddenly they looked up at the sky where two builder ships arrived and fired at the ring, killing the victims. Ex Nihilo attempted to save the survivors by placing them in a bubble, which was then guided to a safe location by Majester. Later, on a planet where they've taken refuge, a fierce wind blows, and Kl'rt is seen holding Cap's hand as he's about to be swept away by the wind. They seem unable to escape the Builders. At this moment, the Builders offer a deal. They'll be spared if they surrender. Apparently, the Centaurians surrendered first. The Creator is seen meeting with the Centaurian king. Then the Creator goes to the Chameleon kingdom because they too surrendered, along with hundreds of other kingdoms. Supremor in the Kree kingdom, who is also visited by the Creator, decides they cannot win after consulting with the thousands of wise minds within his mind. So he too surrenders. Among the remaining survivors of the Behemoth, Ronan the Accuser, who had just been contacted by the Supremor, reported that the Supremor had surrendered. Ronan had requested to stay here with his forces, but the Builder demanded that all Kree people, including himself, surrender, so Ronan had to return to Kree. Ronan felt that surrendering was a disgrace, but this was his duty as a Kree, even though he felt no honor in this action. He then wished for these heroes to die with honor. Jason felt they were certain to lose because the Kree forces made up only a quarter of their total current forces. According to Jason, their safety is more important now, so Spartax will withdraw from this battle. However, Majester doesn't want to retreat. He asks KLRT for his opinion, and KLRT replies that Heelrar cannot be subdued. Besides, he already knows that the Builder is cruel, but pretends to be good. Hearing this, Thor and Cap exchange glances. Jason says that's their choice, but the Builder has a prisoner who seems to be from the battle in the corridor. Cap asks how Jason knows that, and Jason replies that he isn't some backwater fool who just asks how when others do things better than they do. Jason is then enveloped in light and vanishes from there. Seeing this, Annihilus realized that Jason had betrayed them. Majester replied that they would deal with that later. For now, they certainly didn't know how to defeat this monster. Cap said their mistake was basing their strategy on someone with power. Thor then asked the Aeneid. Cap nodded and Majester asked what Cap's plan was. Cap said he had a plan but needed something. Majester asked what it was, and Thor replied that a good captain needs bait. A day later in Hala, the capital of the Kree Empire, several Builder ships were seen hovering outside the Kree planet. Engineer told Creator that Ronan had returned and surrendered his weapons. Engineer was confused as to why Creator felt the need to do this when their ships had to keep moving. Creator said that the Kree needed to know that a single Builder was enough to make them surrender. Ronan was seen kneeling and handing his weapons over to Engineer. At that moment, the computer detected approaching ships. The Engineer noted that the fleet was directly above them and wondered why they were attacking again, knowing they couldn't win. The Creator replied that this was an animal instinct to fight, so they needed to be taught a lesson. Council ships were seen approaching the Builder fleet, and several Builder ships moved to confront them. Majester stated that the attacking Builder ships had already advanced, leaving only the Planet Killer and the command ship behind. Majester said they had already captured Cap's bait. Then Cap ordered over the comm, "Go." At that moment, inside the Planet Killer ship, a battle was underway. Inside the ship, Smasher was defeating Aleph, who was guarding the area with the other troops. Banner informed Steve that they were already inside. He added that Manifold had moved the enemy forces out and that he and Mentor were now trying to take control of the system. Mentor was seen opening Aleph's head. He said that if they couldn't crack the code through this modified Aleph, they wouldn't be able to get in on time. Banner took control of the ship and told Cap that this would be difficult, so he told him to hold his position for now. In Lilandra, Cap told Majester they needed more time, but Majester stood up and insisted there was no time left because they had just lost Wintersun. He ordered Cap to inform Captain Lemma. But before he could finish speaking, their plane was hit, causing Majester to fall. Majester's crew helped him to his feet and suggested they retreat, but Cap refused to back down. He pointed ahead and ordered them to fire with whatever they had. Meanwhile, aboard the Builder, Engineering remarked on how the enemy was trying to hold out, and Creator asked what they would tell future generations thousands of years from now about their efforts today. He said that no one would tell the story because he wouldn't let them. But just then, an explosion was heard. Ex Nihila said they were under attack, while Caretaker looked to see where the attack was coming from and said this couldn't be possible. because it turned out to be one of their own World Killer ships attacking their other ships. On the World Killer ship, Mentor reported to Lilandra that they had successfully taken control of the ship. He had also widely broadcast the firing code. Beside him, Banner was seen transforming into the Hulk and destroying the ship's controls. Seeing this, Mentor added to his report that they couldn't stay here long because they had lost control of the World Killer's weapons. On Lilandra, Majester stated that they had destroyed 2 World Killers but had lost control. Cap agreed, feeling relieved that he had fortunately already sent a second team. Cap then asked Thor if he had gained control of the World Killer, and Thor, who was on the second World Killer, confirmed it. Thor was seen holding Alepht's head to gain access to the ship, while KLRT was at the weapons controls. KLRT asks if he can start now, and Thor agrees. KLRT finally fires at the other World Killer. The caretaker aboard the command ship reports that they've lost 8 weapons, and the command ship has also lost its shields, especially since the killer ship on planet Rogue has turned its weapons on their own ship. He then asks for further orders from the Creator. The Creator decided that all their ships should leave this system for now, while the Third Wing could continue fighting the enemy as best they could. Ex Nihila also told the Creator to leave immediately. The Creator then departed with the Engineer through a red portal, instructing Ex Nihila to sink this ship and join the Third Wing afterward. Meanwhile, Majester received a report that the Builder's ship had already jumped away from here. Majester was relieved, but Cap told him to wait a moment. He contacted Eden and asked for good news from him. Eden replied that he had freed them. Cap told Eden to get them all out of there, and Eden told his friends they had to leave. There were Captain Marvel, Hawkeye, Sunspot, Cannonball, Starbrand, Nightmask, and Abyss, whom Eden had just freed, along with Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Woman. Black Widow stopped them from leaving because their people were still fighting out there, and she told Kevin, aka Starbrand, that it was time for him to step up. Kevin asked what she meant, and Black Widow replied that they had Starbrand, who could end all of this, so now was the time to use him. Kevin replied that he would try. Eden then opened a portal to transport all the Avengers there, while Abyss said that Starbrand could surely do more than that, and Starbrand agreed. Once all the Avengers were gone, Starbrand raised his hand, and the Starbrand symbol shone, destroying all the enemy ships. Kevin kept his hand raised and floated above a chunk of land alongside Kl'rt and Smasher. At that moment, Steve witnessed this alongside Magister. On Earth, Thanos attempted to conquer Earth by sending the supergiant to face the Thunderbolts and Proxima Midnight to confront the mighty Avengers. Meanwhile, the search for Thanos' son had to be halted due to an incursion threat from another parallel universe. Doctor Strange is seen looking at his hand, which is emitting red energy. He then looks down at the settlement below him before vanishing and reappearing behind the other Illuminati members, who witness another Earth on a collision course with their own. In Attilan, Thanos' station lands, and his minions immediately spread out across the area. Thanos is seen descending from the station and entering the Inhuman Kingdom until they spot Black Bolt on his throne. Thanos' minions remark that only the Inhuman King is present. Upon seeing this, Thanos asks, "What kind of game is this?" Meanwhile, deep within Attilan, Maximus ordered them to hurry because their kingdom was about to fall. Maximus directed Medusa to enter Eldrac because the king had already commanded it. Medusa asked where Eldrac was sending them. Maximus replied that they would be sent to different places, and wherever Medusa ended up, that place would be the right one for her. Maximus told Medusa to look up at the sky once they arrived because there would be a spectacle, and upon hearing this, Medusa looked surprised. Once all the Inhumans had evacuated with Eldrac, Lockjaw barked, "Rough!" Maximus acknowledged the bark, then walked toward a room. He told Lockjaw that people called this the Golden Age of their kingdom, but he called it the Last Inhuman Age. At that moment, a large device resembling a weapon came into view. Maximus held the control panel and console of the device. He said that people called him Maximus the Mad, but he had gone mad because he had already witnessed madness. Maximus added that he had armed this device. Back in Attilan's main hall, Thanos' minions reported that the place was empty. Thanos then asked Black Bolt where his people were. He had given Black Bolt a choice: the Gauntlet, which would burn his kingdom to the ground, or the Tribute, where some would die, but many would live. Thanos stated that Black Bolt knew he wanted that child's head, and that he wouldn't stop until he got it. Thanos wants Black Bolt to hand over the child, and in exchange, his people will be spared, and Thanos will return the kingdom to Black Bolt. Thanos then asks for Black Bolt's decision, but Black Bolt shouts his answer at Thanos: "No!" At that moment, due to Black Bolt's sonic scream, Lockjaw goes on alert, and the device behind Maximus lights up, with the console's display glowing as well. Meanwhile, Thanos is seen absorbing the sonic energy from Black Bolt's scream, and outside Attilan, the kingdom glows with a blinding light. The Char ship Lilandra is hovering above Hala, which is under the Builder's control. Cap, Captain Marvel, Majester, Mentor, and KLRT are gathered in front of a projection, showing their location and that of Hala. Captain Marvel asks if Cap is sure this will work, and Cap replies that there's a chance it will. Carol interjects that this is better than having no chance at all, and Cap adds that that's exactly what they'd face if they chased the Builder's ship, or pretended this wasn't happening. Carol agrees, steps closer, and whispers, asking if Captain Marvel has noticed the situation. Some people are already at their limit. Cap confirms it, which is why this must succeed. Just then, Majester calls out to Cap and informs him that the order has been carried out. On Hala. The Creator stood on a stage with several engineers and other creators connected via projection, while the Kree people watched below. The Creator told the projected builders in front of him that the rebels wanted to negotiate. One engineer asked if there was any benefit to this effort. The Creator replied that this message came from a Strontian subspecies whose biological indicators were in their xenobase, and that the statement was indeed true. There were even additional details suggesting something more. One of the creators said to proceed with diplomatic efforts appropriate to local conditions, and an engineer added that they would lift restrictions on their communication channels. Another engineer said they would broadcast this event via Omnicast. The Creator on Hala agreed. He said they would set up the platform and he would deliver the lesson. After the communication link ended, the Creator asked if Ronan had everything ready, and Ronan confirmed it, saying all the accusers had gathered here. A group of accusers could be seen gathered below the stage. Then the Creator ordered the rebels to come forward and kneel before everyone. The Creator spread his arms wide, saying this was a historic moment in the Kree Empire, the hidden city of Orlan. It turned out Thanos' son was in the settlement Doctor Strange had once seen from the hilltop. He was now a healer there. Long ago, when the Inhuman royal family was scattered, the Lore chose to hide in Orlan. They possessed only a small fragment of the Terrigen crystal, so Terrigenesis could occur only once per generation. Several people were seen gathered in a room surrounding the small fragment of the Terrigen crystal. Moments later, the energy from the Terrigen crystal transformed them into Inhumans. A man is seen applying a bandage to a child's hand. He says that once this wound heals, the child will feel an itch, but Jor will be able to climb rocks again afterward. The man ruffles Jor's hair and tells him to bring a sturdier rope next time. Jor thanks him and calls the man Healer. The man's name is Thane, the son of Thanos, whom Thanos is currently searching for to kill. In New York, following the fall of Attilan, Thanos is seen emerging from the ruins of Attilan that have crashed into New York, while the weapons in the Attilan kingdom that had previously fired are now smoking. Thanos wonders what Black Bolt has done. It turns out Black Bolt's scream activated the Terrigen bomb. Using technology created by Maximus, this bomb converts sound into light and channels Terrigen into nitrogen. The Terrigen spreads across the world, transforming anyone with inhuman genes, whether quickly or slowly. At that moment, Thanos hears a sound. He turns and sees Black Bolt lifting the debris covering him. Thanos said that it was time for them to end it with blood on their hands. But Black Bolt screamed again, and the sonic force struck Thanos, who used his hand as a shield. Before long, Thanos emerged from the billowing dust. He leaped and struck Black Bolt while asking where his son was. Thanos demanded that Black Bolt tell him. He lifted Black Bolt and asked again where his son was. At that moment, the tuning forks on Black Bolt's head glowed, and he attacked Thanos with his scream. Meanwhile, the Terrigen had reached Orlan. The liquid flew through the air and struck anyone with inhuman genes, including Thane. He appeared to be engulfed in flames, and his hands turned black with lava inside them. The fire from his body then burned the two people standing beside him, reducing them to skeletons. Some say Terrigenesis merely reveals who they truly are. All this time, Thane had feared what lay hidden within him. He worried that Terrigenesis would leave him unable to deny that he was Thanos' son. At the same time, Black Bolt's sonic blast struck Thanos, who was holding him. Thanos told Black Bolt that this was enough. He then silenced Black Bolt so he could no longer scream, and ordered him to take that secret to his grave. Thanos slammed Black Bolt's head into the ground. After that, he lifted Black Bolt and slammed him into the ground again, then left him to die. Thanos muttered, wondering where his son was hiding. At that moment, Thane's transformation was complete. His body turned purple, and the people around him had already been burned to death by Thane's power. Thane let out a scream after his transformation. On Hala. A Galactic Council delegation ship lands on Hala. At the same time, KLRT, Cap, and Majestor are watching the meeting via Omnicast. KLRT says their fate now rests in this one person's hands. He asks how far they've fallen. Majestor says this isn't the time to talk about pride because they already know they can't win. Besides, Cap has already made his decision. At that moment, Cap announced that the ship had landed, but Majestor asked again if the captain was certain his choice was the right one. On Hala, the ship's door opened and a red cloth was visible through the opening, while on Leylandra, Cap replied that he had never doubted he'd sent his best negotiator. Thor was seen stepping off the ship with Mjolnir in his hand, while Kree troops aimed their weapons at him. Ronan the Accuser also stopped Thor in his tracks and ordered him not to carry his weapon, especially since the Builder had already witnessed just how extraordinary its power was. Thor closed his eyes and said to Mjolnir, "Hear me, Father. Am I worthy? If so, may I find your favor this day. See my heart, and not just my hand." He then threw Mjolnir into the sky until it flew out of the planet, passing the Galactic Council's ship. Thor raised both his hands, saying that since he was no longer carrying a weapon as requested, he asked if they could now begin to speak like equals. The Creator replied that there was no room for negotiation. He knew they would surrender to prevent their world from being destroyed, and he asked if that understanding was wrong. Thor agreed with the Creator's statement. He wanted them to end this war, but he needed a guarantee. The Creator said it was wise of him to ask for guarantees, then ordered Thor to come closer before slapping him and declaring that this was his guarantee. The Creator stated that he must surrender and kneel, or his planet would be destroyed. Thor wiped his bleeding mouth, and in the presence of the Galactic Council, Jason, and all the accusers gathered that day, he knelt. The Creator said he deserved to kneel, but even so, Earth couldn't be saved because he would burn it with the power of 1,000 suns. At that moment, Mjolnir was seen flying toward the sun, while the Creator asked again if Thor knew why Earth had to be destroyed, because humanity was a plague, not just for this galaxy or the universe, but a disease that must be burned. By then, Mjolnir had already entered the sun. Meanwhile, on Leylandra, Majestor's subordinates reported that something was flying toward them. Majestor asked what it was, and Cap looked at the screen and said it was a calculation. On Hala, the Creator told Thor that his victory was superficial. Though others might live, Thor and his people must die. According to the Creator, Thor couldn't think otherwise because humanity was meant to end. But Thor asked, "What if I'm not just an ordinary human?" At that moment, something glowing is seen flying through the sky toward Thor. The Creator looks stunned at the light, which turns out to be Mjolnir, coated in fire. The hammer pierces the Creator's body and returns to Thor's grasp. On Leylandra, Cap says that if someone can be destroyed, then they can be defeated. The dying Creator says that his actions will bring everything to an end, but Thor strikes the Creator with his hammer and shouts that the Creator will be the one to end first. Thor says that if there are free men and women in this world who fight for their people across the galaxy, they would rather die than surrender their freedom and be enslaved. Thor then asked if Ronan was one of those free people, and Ronan nodded. Thor asked again if there were other free people willing to fight alongside him, and Ronan nodded again. Thor told Ronan to call them. for a battle for the truth awaits. Ronan raised his hammer and shouted, "Accusers, are you with me?" The accusers raised their hammers alongside Thor, whose hammer emitted a bolt of lightning. On Lilandra, Majester said that one creator had fallen, and Hala, who had once been free, was free again. He asked what Cap's next plan was. Cap replied that they had won. What happened on Hala was widely broadcast across thousands of planets where the builders had arrived. The natives who saw the broadcast began to fight back. They surrounded the builders together, cut off their heads, and held them aloft. Just as had happened on Hala, they were convinced that their own planet could also be free because they had seen that it was possible. On Dokram 7. The place was seen exploding, and Aleph lay sprawled on the ground, and nearby stood Cannonball, Starbolt, and Cap, who was helping Oracle to her feet. Cap pointed out where the last Aleph was, but Oracle said they still had one more enemy, and Cap replied that it wasn't necessary. After that, Hulk descended and stomped on that Aleph. Oracle told them to announce that the planet was now free. According to Oracle, people liked Cap because of this. Cap asked why that was, and Oracle told Cap to look ahead. Cap looks ahead and asks whose idea this is. Oracle says that if this war is won by Earth's humans, in every war, the Avengers are the victors. Just as when Cap held out against Behemoth, Cap was the one who made the World Killers attack their master on Hala. And then Cap destroyed the enemy with just a single person and a hammer thrown into the sun. At that moment, people were seen raising the Avengers logo. The Oracle added that they had gathered because of the good captain. Dokram the 7th was free again, and now this place was Avengers World. After that, the builders on planet after planet were defeated, both by known heroes and unknown heroes, but all under one banner, the Avengers. Captain Marvel was seen striking a builder, Keimer fought the builders alongside Starbrand, and Centauri Prime also battled using arrows alongside Hawkeye. In the end, Cap stood alongside those who had successfully defeated the builders, and at that very moment, their planet had become Avengers World, a short while later. Captain Marvel shook hands with Ronan the Accuser, while people were seen celebrating their victory, and Thor was seen carrying 2 bottles of drink. He said that people claimed this drink was too strong for ordinary humans, but Thor told them they didn't know Steve Rogers. Steve then accepted the bottle from Thor. He asks what will happen to him if he drinks this. Will he end up in the hospital? As soon as Steve takes a sip, he remarks that it's quite a burn. Thor places a hand on Cap's shoulder and says that Gladiator is willing to provide a vessel to take them home. Just then, Gladiator appears and Cap asks why he's come to this planet. Does he want to join the party? Gladiator replied that he'd like to, but the Universal Net is now operational again for communicating with other systems. Just as Cap was about to ask what he meant, Gladiator stated that Earth has fallen, the hidden inhuman city in Orulin. Thane looked remorseful for having killed others when Ebony Maw arrived and asked why there were so many deaths here. Upon seeing Thane, he realized it was Thanos' son who was causing the deaths here. Thane claimed he was a healer and denied being like his father, but Ebony Maw retorted that Thane was no longer a healer. Ebony stated that Inhumans believe Terrigenesis reveals their true selves, but now what's visible is the tyrannical side of Thanos within Thane. All this time, Thanos has been chasing death, but now it seems he is creating it himself. Thane felt this wasn't right, because if that were the case, how could Ebony still be alive? Ebony replied that he was a student always ready. His body was protected by a top-tier defensive field. He would certainly be dead if he weren't using that protection. Thane asks why Maw is here, and Maw says he saw an opportunity to improve his standing by teaching Thane to control his gift. But Thane says this isn't a gift. Maw retorts that many people would pay any price to preserve life, and since Thane has the ability to alter lives, that makes it a gift. At that moment, Maw pressed a button on his hand and a suit of armor appeared there. Thane then stepped into the space containing the armor. If this armor could prevent him from harming others, then this was the true gift. Thane then put on the armor. Maw said he could call the armor whatever he wanted, but the containment armor was strong enough that he had to touch someone directly to use its power. Hearing this, Thane thanked him. Ma said that thanks were unnecessary, then pressed a button on his hand, trapping Thane inside a glass chamber. Ma said Thane had to meet his father first before he'd know whether he should be grateful. In Necropolis, Wakanda, in a room containing an antimatter bomb, Corvus's men are trying to open it. Corvus asks if they've managed to activate it, and his men say they've opened the outer casing but haven't touched the inner core. They're having trouble opening it without releasing the antimatter because the bomb is built to be extremely sturdy. Proxima Midnight tells them to try as if their lives depend on it. Corvus tells Thanos they need more time because the Secret Brotherhood built it with great care, but Thanos says Corvus has disappointed him. He gave him the chance to learn the secret from the captured Illuminati member. Thanos is seen having bound Black Bolt to a device connected to his head. Supergiant says she'll try to find out. Supergiant then uses her powers to read Black Bolt's mind. Nearby, Thanos warns her to be careful and not destroy him, since they'll still need him later, especially since this man once called himself a king. Meanwhile, the other Illuminati members watch as the alternate world set to collide with Earth is now shattering. Namor, Reed, Iron Man, T'Challa, Beast, and Doctor Strange watched as that other world shattered into pieces before their eyes. Iron Man remarked that this was the collapse of space-time and the end of everything. He wondered if there was anything wrong with feeling relieved that he only had to deal with an invasion from another world. Reed felt there was indeed something wrong with Anthony, but the question was where it all began. And T'Challa asked whether, between Thanos and saving his son, he had any idea what was happening on Earth while they were gone. Beast pointed at someone and said they might know the answer. Lockjaw and Maximus could be seen on a hill watching the Illuminati. Meanwhile, Supergiant was controlling Black Bolt's mind through the beams emanating from Black Bolt's eyes. She ordered Black Bolt to give her master what he wanted, and then she found it. She told Thanos that the key was the second mechanism in this lab. Thanos was about to give his orders to Supergiant when a communication from Ebony Maw came in at that moment. Thanos says that Maw must explain why he hasn't reported anything, and Maw replies that his gift might explain everything. Thanos asks what he has, and Maw answers that he has Thanos' son. He asks if this will make his master happy. Thanos agrees. He already knows Maw's location and orders him to wait there with that tribute. Thanos then walked away from the area, ordering Corvus and Proxima to prepare a vessel because they were leaving. Supergiant asked what she should do, and Thanos told Supergiant to prepare the bomb, because after he killed his son, he would destroy this world. At that moment, Lockjaw teleported the Illuminati to a forest near Wakanda. Beast looked up at the sky where many warplanes were attacking Wakanda and told them to look. Of course, T'Challa was shocked to see Wakanda already burning and its defenses already breached. T'Challa urged them to go save it, but Iron Man stopped him because the alarms they'd set up at Necropolis and in the lab where the bomb was located had gone off, meaning the enemy already had access to the bomb. Lockjaw seemed to be sniffing the air and barked. Maximus said Lockjaw was indicating that Black Bolt was inside and in danger. He found this highly amusing, but the others didn't seem to enjoy it as much as Maximus did. T'Challa raised his two knives. He asked to be teleported inside because this was related to the weapon they had created. He suggested they save the dead city, aka Necropolis, first, and hoped this delay wouldn't turn Wakanda into a dead city as well. The Illuminati also attacked the enemies in Necropolis. T'Challa was seen using his knife to strike the enemies, while Iron Man attacked with his repulsor beam, and Reed used his body to block the shots fired at Beast, Doctor Strange, and Maximus behind him. In Orolon, Thanos' ship lands in Orolon. Maw states that, as promised, he is presenting his tribute to Thanos. Thanos praises Maw's work, and Maw replies that he is happy to make his master happy. Thanos then stands before his remaining child, telling him to enjoy his last breath now, as his time is short. Thane asks why Thanos is doing this, and Thanos replies that his very existence keeps Thanos awake at night. Thanos then asks Maw why this son of his is in a Class 1 containment field. Just as Maw is about to explain Thane's abilities, Corvus suddenly calls Thanos and shows him a message from their outpost guard. With the connection cutting in and out, The man said that enemies were approaching their location. Thanos asked Corvus what was happening, and Corvus replied that something was happening on Titan. Meanwhile, on Lilandra, Oracle reported to Gladiator that the monitoring stations had been shut down and giant gas was obscuring their shadows. Gladiator praised Oracle and asked the crew if they were ready to fight again. Keller T replied that he didn't bring his warship here for fun. Color T then called out the name Accuser, and Ronan the Accuser declared that he had come to judge the wrongdoers and all who opposed Kree freedom. Gladiator added that the Shi'ar warships were also under Cap's command for the final time. At that moment, Cap stood alongside Captain Marvel, Smasher, Thor, and the Hulk. He said they would jump to Earth because there was one last planet they had to save. Then a fleet of warships appeared, ready to save Earth. Warships from the Galactic Council arrived on Earth to defend it against Thanos' attack. As a barrier led by Black Dwarf appeared in front of Earth, the Galactic Council's ships opened fire on the barrier before it could reach the planet. Rocket, Star-Lord, Abigail Brand, and her sword-wielding troops are seen attacking Thanos' forces. Meanwhile, Black Dwarf struggles against Kel-Rt, Gladiator, Annihilus, and Ronan the Accuser, until Ronan finally strikes Black Dwarf on the head with his hammer, killing him. Next, Star-Lord is seen working on his computer while Rocket and Abigail fire at the enemy. At that moment, a ship glides into Earth, leaving the battle in space behind. From the landing, ship emerge Cap, Carol, Hyperion, Thor, and Hulk. Cap says they sustained significant damage trying to break through the blockade, and though they landed intact, their position is far from the target. He tells Carol that they've reached Earth, while Thanos' location, according to Iron Man's coordinates, is at 220.25 degrees, 52 miles away. Cap asks Hyperion about the situation, and Hyperion replies that he sees 5 people there, one of whom is inside a containment field. Cap then ordered Hulk to go there first to attack while they followed behind. Before Banner left, Thor told him to leave some enemies for them, but Hulk just snorted and leaped away, at the peak above Earth. Cannonball was seen flying alongside Smasher and causing one enemy ship to explode. Cannonball remarked that they seemed to be retreating. Smasher used the Exo database and discovered that these space pirates were feigning a retreat to set up their final attack formation. Cannonball admitted that he never pretends to do something he doesn't mean to do. Then Izzy asked what he meant, and Cannonball replied that they needed to be made to see reason. Smasher and Cannonball then flew toward their enemies in Wakanda, which serves as the Illuminati's headquarters, currently under Supergiant's control. T'Challa attacks the enemies in Wakanda alongside Beast, Doctor Strange, and Reed. After defeating the last foot soldiers, T'Challa is surprised by how coordinated their movements were, and Reed confirms it. But since the matter is resolved, he asks about Anthony's condition. Iron Man, who was fiddling with the door to the bomb lab, said he was almost done. Beast asked if Tony's armor had detected the bomb's status inside the room, and Tony replied that the bomb had already been activated because the readings had exceeded the threshold. The room's door opened and Iron Man immediately entered with his other teammates, hoping he wasn't too late. Inside, the bomb was already active, while Supergiant, who was with Black Bolt at the time, heard Tony's words and asked if he was afraid of being too late to save the Earth. Supergiant told Black Bolt to explain to them whether they were too late or not. Tony asked if Supergiant wanted to attack using Black Bolt's power, and Namor agreed and told Beast to step aside. After that, Black Bolt's sonic attack sent the Illuminati crashing down. Doctor Strange stood up and said that Thanos' minions thought the power they'd unleashed could be controlled. Feeling cornered, Strange used his power to reveal the Abyss to them, in Orolun, the hidden Inhuman city. Corvus tells Thanos that if they've lost contact with their people at peak, he's certain the enemy has received reinforcements. Thanos decides to kill his son now. He orders Maw to release his son. Just then, Hulk appears and is about to strike Thanos, but Thanos strikes first, knocking Hulk down. Thanos tells Corvus that all life is merely a distraction and meaningless. Thanos then orders Corvus and Proxima to kill the Hulk. The two of them attack the Hulk, but the Hulk has already risen to counterattack, so they step back. Proxima remarks that the Hulk is fast, while Corvus suggests they use a wider net. Proxima argued that it would be better to use a tighter net. Proxima then attacked the Hulk with her spear, which pierced his body and enveloped him in black energy. She said her spear was made from a sun trapped in distorted space-time, so it could grant life and create a supernova. Proxima said the star's power would hold him in place. Corvus approached and swung his glaive to slash at Hulk's chin. He intended to cut off his head and hang it over the fireplace. But just then, Cap's shield knocked him to the ground. It turned out Cap had arrived with Thor, Hyperion, and Captain Marvel, and they joined the fight against Thanos' minions in Necropolis. Strange used his powers to create a giant octopus-like creature that wrapped around Black Bolt. Behind him, Supergiant ordered Black Bolt to attack again, and Black Bolt shouted once more, causing half of the octopus creature to vanish. At that moment, Reed covered Black Bolt's mouth with his hand and wrapped Supergiant up, ordering T'Challa to attack immediately. T'Challa replied that he only had the Rumbler, but Reed told him to attack anyway, and eventually T'Challa pressed the bomb's trigger, causing them all to be caught in the explosion. Moments later, Supergiant appeared to have risen again, while T'Challa warned Supergiant not to act foolishly because it would kill her. Supergiant explained that Thanos had found her in an orphanage. She'd been through a lot and just wanted to die. Thanos promised to kill her after Supergiant helped kill his other children. Supergiant then said this was the moment she'd been waiting for, and she pressed the button on the bomb. In Oralan, Ma tells Thane that these heroes are his last chance to survive. Proxima pulls her spear out of Hulk's body, and Hulk transforms back into a regular human. He asks how Proxima did that. Proxima knocks Banner down while saying she can do other things too. Cap is seen blocking an attack from Corvus, while Captain Marvel attacks Thanos, who blocks her attack with his hand. Behind Thanos, Thor prepares to attack as well, but Thanos strikes Thor with a beam from his eyes. Proxima then raised her spear and drove it into the ground, causing Cap, Captain Marvel, and Hyperion to be hit by the explosion from Proxima's weapon. In front of Thanos, Corvus, and Proxima, Cap, Captain Marvel, and Hyperion appeared wounded, while Ma said that Thane had always believed the hope would come, but all hope would vanish in the face of Thanos in Necropolis. Supergiant says that the bomb is fully loaded, so she just needs to unlock it and charge the engine. After that, she can activate the bomb. At that moment, Maximus appears with a device to activate the bomb. He says he likes Supergiant's madness, but still has a plan to carry out. Supergiant asks for the device in Maximus's hand, but Maximus says he just wants to be the smartest person in the room. Maximus then activated the bomb with the device in his hand. Just then, Lockjaw appeared beside Supergiant, and Maximus pointed out that Supergiant had forgotten Lockjaw was the most dangerous one there. Lockjaw then transported Supergiant and the bomb to an uninhabited planet. He then barked and left the planet, abandoning Supergiant with the antimatter bomb and causing the planet to explode. Meanwhile, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, and Manifold were at peak. Shang-Chi was beating up the enemies there, while Black Widow and Manifold were trying to access the system. Shang-Chi then said he had finished defeating the enemies. He invited them to the hangar and go outside. Manifold said they had accessed the system, and Black Widow added that they had obtained the monitor feed. Manifold says everything will be visible on the screen. He looks at the screen and comments that the man has accepted his mission. Shang confirms it. This time Starbrand will be the hammer and its base. Starbrand is seen forming the Starbrand symbol with his hands while Nightmask stands behind him. Starbrand's power ultimately causes the enemy ship to explode simultaneously. Seeing this, Black Widow asked Hawkeye if it really looked like the enemy was retreating. Hawkeye confirmed it, saying they had won, but Spider-Woman, standing next to Hawkeye, interjected that they hadn't won yet. She then asked Black Widow for news from Earth. Black Widow then switched the connection to Avengers Tower and asked if anyone could hear her. Iron Man answered Natasha's call, and Natasha reported that they had successfully sealed off the local area and that the remaining members of Thanos' forces had retreated. Iron Man then told Natasha to request reinforcements be sent to Wakanda and New York. At that moment, Black Bolt was seen regaining consciousness, while Namor and Beast helped Doctor Strange free himself from the giant octopus's tentacles, and Reed helped T'Challa get back on his feet. They then hurried off again. Tony told Natasha he was sending the coordinates of where they were headed, while reminding her that this wasn't over yet. In Orlan. Thane tells Ma that he believes there's always hope, and Ma replies that it's not as Thane imagines. At that moment, Hyperion attacks Proxima with a beam from his eyes, but Corvus strikes him from behind. He asks if Hyperion feels pain. At the same time, Cap urges Carol to get up, but Carol warns Cap that Proxima is about to attack from behind. Proxima hurled her spear at the two captains. Cap used his shield to protect himself and Carol, but of the 3 spear beams, 1 pierced Cap's body, while the other 2 bounced off and instead struck Corvus. Hyperion pulled out the glaive that was hurting him, then asked Corvus if that hurt. Corvus replied that Hyperion couldn't threaten someone with what he wanted. Hyperion then burned Corvus with a beam from his eyes and told him to consider this a gift. Proxima, seeing Corvus under attack, intended to help him, but Captain Marvel struck her. She ordered Proxima to get up and fight, but Thanos arrived and knocked Captain Marvel down. Watching this battle, Ma told Thane that the good don't always win. In the end, they can only hope in God. Just then, lightning struck Thanos, but Thanos ordered the lightning to strike again. A second bolt struck, but Thanos defied the lightning once more. And then Thor descended, striking Thanos with his hammer. Thor says that one of them must die today. Thor strikes again with his hammer, but Thanos manages to block it. Meanwhile, Ma releases Thane because he wants Thane to see for himself that Thanos is invincible. Thane asks why. Ma replies that he wants to see if Thane has evolved or not. Thanos is seen striking Thor. He then clenches his fist and releases a force that hurls those around him away, while Ma whispers to Thane that this is the moment for Thane to decide whether he is Thanos' son or not. Thane appears to agree that he is Thanos' son. His right hand then glows and is directed at Thanos. Shortly after, Thane looked stunned and asked what was happening, and Ma replied that this was a fate worse than death. Ma then took Thane and vanished from there. Not long after, Iron Man woke up Cap. He asked if Cap had been having a nightmare. Cap replied that it depended on which world he woke up in, and Tony answered that this was their own world. Cap stood up and asked what was happening. Had Tony saved them with a cavalry charge? Tony explained that this was the work of Thanos' son. His left hand could wipe out an entire village. Cap asked about his right hand, and Banner pointed out Thanos' condition, explaining that Thane's right hand could turn Thanos into a living dead. It appeared as though Thanos and Proxima were frozen in time, in the Himalayas where Attilan once stood. Maximus hands a red crystal to Black Bolt. Maximus says this is like their own funeral rite because the Inhumans believe Black Bolt was killed by Thanos, while Maximus died in the ruins of Attilan. Black Bolt then buries the stone in the ground. Maximus says that the Inhumans must surely mourn them. He's certain neither of them will return because Black Bolt left his codex here for his successor to find, but he's confused as to why Black Bolt did this. Black Bolt took a crystal from the staff that rose to the surface, while Maximus was confused as to why the bomb had been made to destroy Attilan. But then Maximus seemed to realize something, yet Black Bolt placed his index finger over his mouth to stop Maximus from saying it. Maximus laughed. He realized that Black Bolt had always scattered his people like seeds. With or without Thanos, Black Bolt would still set off his bomb. It turned out this wasn't the end of the Inhuman Age, but the dawn of a new one. At that moment, 5 green eggs hatched amid the ruins of Attilan, and beings emerged from their shells. After that, the Avengers helped humanity rebuild what had been destroyed. Hyperion was seen lifting metal alongside Captain Marvel, while Cap reviewed blueprints with Shang-Chi. Not only on Earth, but on Wan Prime, the Ex Nihili mourned the loss of their kin. They then repaired the damaged planet and created a new one for those who had lost their homes. On Chandalar, home to the Shi'ar, Gladiator intends to increase the number of Imperial guards to replace those who have died. On Hala, the Supreme Intelligence welcomes the Accuser back to continue the war. On Tarnax 2, KLRT is crowned king. Additionally, Annihilus' drones discovered converted stargates on Praxis 2 with a portal leading to the negative zone. Praxis 2 has now become an annihilation world. while Thane is with Ebony Maw, who will turn Thane into the one who brings about the end of everything. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange asks what Iron Man told the others. Iron Man replies that he will handle everything. Beast asks if they believe, and T'Challa replies that they must believe because they see the world as they want it to be. Reed reminds T'Challa that Anthony created the current Avengers to handle the impossible. They exist to offer hope so the Illuminati can create the unimaginable, especially since every machine requires different tools. Namor asks what they'll do if their world is coming to an end, and Tony answers that they must carry on, even if it means sacrificing their souls, so they must gather the tools needed to build the unimaginable. At that moment, the Illuminati stand before Thanos, who had been frozen earlier. In the end, Infinity shows us that even the greatest heroes cannot be everywhere at once. While the Avengers fought to save the universe among the stars, Earth was left vulnerable, and Thanos chose that moment perfectly. This story reveals a crucial truth about the Marvel Universe. Threats are never isolated. Every decision, every battle, and every absence creates consequences somewhere else. Thanos' invasion didn't just devastate Earth, it changed the lives of its heroes, reshaped the Inhumans, and set events in motion that would echo throughout the rest of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers saga. So what do you think? If the Avengers had stayed on Earth, could they have stopped Thanos? Or was this outcome inevitable from the start? Because this is only one part of a much larger story. And the real consequences of these events will lead to something far bigger, a collapse of entire universes. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with fellow Marvel fans so we can continue exploring epic comic stories together here on Panelix. Thank you for watching, and may your day be a pleasant one.